Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. It's finally here. We are now in fight week. As I've been doing for the past week or so, I'll be producing an omnibus video daily on the Parker Fury build-up until fight night. There's been a lot of interest in them so far, so I really do thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. And thank you for all the new subscribers who've been coming on board, and of course everyone else who's been riding with me these past couple of months. So just in terms of the channel itself, so we're over 100 videos now. So check out the playlist section if you want to delve into some of the other stuff I've been doing, especially if you want to check out some of the craziness in this Parker Fury build-up. There's quite a bit of backstory, so check out the Joseph Parker or Fury playlists. You can also follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'll be tweeting during the fight this weekend. I also do tweet about other boxing related stuff on Twitter. For example, like how Triple G got robbed yesterday. That Judge Adelaide Bird who turned in a 118-110 card in favour of Canelo, well, they need to retire. That's an absolute disgrace. You know, I can see how someone might make a case for a Canelo win 7 rounds to 5, but, you know, winning at 10 rounds in totals, I mean, Mose will have just ridden KO on the card. I mean, I had Triple G winning comfortably by at least 3 rounds. Anyway, we have a number of pre-fight activities this week in both London and Manchester as part of the Parker Fury build-up. So for those details in full and some of the timings, check out my last video which includes this. I've put a card on screen now, so check it out at the end of the video if you want. I'll put a link up. 4 things I want to cover off in this particular video. Joseph Parker has written an opinion piece where he throws up a number of interesting discussion points. A few quotes from Fury from a UK story. The WBO is still not happy about the setup of officials for the fight. And Hughie Fury celebrates a personal milestone. Let's crack into it. So Joseph Parker, he has written an opinion piece for stuff.co.nz. Link in the description. It begins. Be warned. Hughie Fury, you can run, but you can't hide. I'm coming hunting for you. I'm pumped for my British debut, and I believe I have the mental and physical game to take care of this challenge for my WBO World Heavyweight belt. Hughie has had a fair bit to say about his newfound health and supposed power gains. Apparently, he's a different person and will be a different boxer to when he last fought way back in April of last year. Okay, so I'll paraphrase this next bit. He will revert back to what he is used to when times get tough. And believe me, having looked over his previous fights, I'm going to be putting plenty of pressure on him. I don't think he backs himself with the power he has. Okay, let's pause for a second. Very strong and confident opening paragraph. You want him coming in confident and focused like this. And of course, he says in this case, he's in a mood for hunting. Also cue the subtle mental dig. Parker obviously is not convinced Fury has had a massive transformation, despite hearing that often. So when he says that Fury will revert back to what he's used to, I actually think he's bang on. I mean, this whole bravado in the last week or two about a 4th round knockout, and this is what Fury's been saying, I'm not sure there's actually, including Fury fans, many people who really believe he's going to follow through with that and follow through with a super aggressive game plan. He's not going to be in there trading with Parker, especially not early. Now, I could see that later on if Parker gassed out, for example, and Fury was getting the better of the action, that he would maybe start sort of resorting to that sort of, you know, fighting style. But I'm fully expecting him to live off the jab, box off the back foot, and use the ring. I'd actually be completely shocked if he didn't. If he stood toe-to-toe with Parker, you know, I think it'd probably fall down dead from surprise. And you might have noted also that Parker seemed to have been putting in the extra endurance work during his training camp. And we saw a number of clips coming out from his team on social media that showed him doing extra endurance work, running up hills, running up steps, all that sort of thing. Okay, let's move on. Another interesting bit. It was interesting to hear Hughie suggest he'd faced superior opposition to me. That's not true, and I know I have come through some very tough tests that will serve me well in this fight and my desire to make a mark on the British heavyweight scene. So on this one, I completely agree with Parker. His record is hands down better than Fury's. I mean, sure, some fans will still debate whether he won against Hakim and Ruiz Jr. because they were close fights. But regardless, those two names are still better than any on Fury's record. The best among them, Andre Rudenko, followed up by high-level journeyman Fred Cassie. So the point he is making, though, is, and I think this is wider than just the record, he's been pushed hard in fights. He's had to dig deep to get the wins. He's just had to dig deep, full stop. So in that respect, he is right. It is a plus, and he will be able to draw on it in that fight should it get in the championship rounds, should it get tough. I mean, Parker's point also alludes to the fact that Hughie Fury is not as battle-tested. And, I can't disagree with that. In relation to the fight being delayed, Parker had this to say. There has been a silver lining to my relative inactivity. Usually I would have had 3 or 4 fights by now, but the delay has allowed me time to get over some injury niggles that my previous busy schedule never allowed. So I feel like it's a blessing in disguise. Watch out, Hughie. You now have someone in front of you who's at 100%. When the first fight was scheduled for May, I wasn't at my peak. But now you're going to get the full noise, the full beating. So those comments are from an opinion piece Joseph Parker has penned for the website stuff.co.nz, a New Zealand-based website. So link in the description as I mentioned earlier. So just on the silver lining, it is no secret that Parker has carried some niggles into fights before, including an elbow injury he had most of 2016. So while Parker is a guy that he does like to fight often, I think it's been like 5 times a year for the past 3 years up until this year, that sort of schedule leads to wear and tear. He estimated at one point, this was after the Takum fight, because of the elbow injury, his power was down by about a quarter. And judging by some of the film that we've seen from his training camp, he is looking sharp, he is looking explosive, and he's also likely to weigh in a few pounds lighter than his previous 2 fights. And I think that will be key if he's going to be chasing Fury around all night to deliver what he calls the full beating. So it's an interesting piece indeed. I do hope to see something similar pop up in the UK this week sometime, penned by Fury. Okay, a couple of quotes here that I thought I would just get into from a piece that had been on express.co.uk. So this is a story that had run on Fury. He had this to say. It has been a brutal camp. I have sweated blood and tears. It has been torture, but this is the fight of a lifetime. We're both there for a fight, so it's going to be a complete war. I can't give too much away, but he's in for the fight of his life. I've always believed I was going to be a world champion no matter what. So it's just a matter of time, and I believe I can unify the division. But it's one belt at a time. This is about Joseph Parker. So that was Hughie Fury talking to express.co.uk. Link in the description. So it does sound like he's done as much as humanly possible to prepare for this fight. So from what both are saying, they will both be coming into this fight firing on all cylinders. So for me, I don't want to hear any excuses from either afterwards. The winner will deserve full credit. This is one of the things actually I've been meaning to raise. When fans of either boxer diminish the rival fighter, it only serves to lessen the credit your fighter deserves for beating him. So when you're ragging on the other guy, you're actually lessening the credit for your guy. So, I mean, for me though, having a Joseph Parker or a Hughie Fury on your record is a decent scalp. It's a legit heavyweight fight. The betting even suggests that the bookies aren't sure who's going to win. Sure, Parker's a slight favourite both in the UK and New Zealand. But it's not long odds, it's pretty close. For me, I will give the winner the due credit they deserve. And they will be a man to watch in the division. Okay, two things that I wanted to pick up from another story from stuff.co.nz, link in the description. You may recall that Parker's promoter Duco Events went public with its outrage at English referee Terry O'Connor, who has reffed Fury's past 2 fights, being appointed to the fight in Manchester. So the story notes, the WBO is ordering their Vice President, American John Duggan, to replace a British appointment as fight supervisor. In ordering Duggan's present at the fight, the WBO president also asked the British Boxing Board of Control in a strongly worded letter to have a rethink about the referee, saying, "We respectfully consider this practice as deficient and contrary to the rules and regulations of the organisation. We truly believe our request of neutral officials fulfills the intention of all parties." Interesting stuff. So Kevin Barry, Joseph Parker's trainer, he was also quoted in this story saying, "We've had a tremendous camp. The way he looks and the way he has prepared, I think his performance on the night will take the referee, the judges, and the local boxing fans right out of the equation. I think Joe's probably the most focused I've ever seen him for a fight. And he should be too." So there does seem to be, at least from a distance from where I'm sitting, seem to be a more focused version of Joseph Parker for this fight. And understandable as well. I mean, he knows that he's due for a good performance and a big win, and it will do wonders for his career. And the alternative, well, a loss, well, it probably sends him to relative obscurity for a while he rebuilds his career. And just before we go, Hughie Fury, 23 today. Happy birthday, Hughie. And if you go to his Twitter, this is what comes up on screen. Okay, that's it from me. Hit like, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know about what you thought about anything that I covered in this video. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.